Okay, I think we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you at our Parent and Family webinar at Seattle U. My name is Lori Prince. I serve as the Director of Parent and Family Engagement, and my office is sponsoring this webinar. We have one of my campus colleagues, Mia Strauss, who's going to share with you some information about student persistence. Let me tell you a little bit about Mia. She serves as the Associate Director of our Persistence Initiatives in the Office of Student Persistence on campus. For over a decade, Mia has partnered with diverse groups of students in high school, nonprofit, community college, and university environments to eliminate barriers and disrupt oppressive systems. She has a background in case management, academic advising, student leadership development, and educational justice work. She is new in this role at Seattle U since September, but she's not new to Seattle U. She has also served as a transfer admissions counselor for our campus. So welcome, Mia. I'm going to ask folks, if you have questions along the way, to please use the Q&A function. We'll have some time at the end, and we'll try to get to all of the things that you're curious about. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to Mia.
Thanks, Lori. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Again, my name is Mia Strautsis. I use she, her pronouns, and we will go ahead and get started. Looks like a few more folks are joining us. Just a quick agenda so you all know what we're going to be discussing this afternoon. I'll give a brief overview of some of the work that I do in the Office of Student Persistence, which is currently just me, so you know. And we'll give a little bit more of an overview about kind of what college students are experiencing right now, especially at Seattle University, some tips on how your student can become a stronger self-advocate. Lori's going to touch on kind of the parent-student or supporter-student relationship and how you can stay involved in supporting them to be successful. We're also going to have a lot of time to share about some important resources at Seattle University that are available to your students. And we'll wrap up with some important updates and, of course, the Q&A, as Lori mentioned. So welcome again if you just joined us. Please definitely use that Q&A feature. And if you have any technological concerns, feel free to raise your hand, or if you can't hear me or need clarification on something, definitely available for that as well. And we do have some QR codes in the presentation. So I don't know if you use QR codes, but if you would like to have your phone out, you can also scan some of those. So in the Office of Student Persistence, I'm available to meet one-on-one with students on a variety of concerns. You can see some of them listed out on this slide, but that includes academic concerns, financial concerns, navigating the college environment and experience, connecting to resources both on and off campus, scholarship research. So I definitely help students a lot in tandem with that financial support in researching SU and external scholarships, and then connecting to community both here at SU and then out in our community as well. I'm located in our residence hall, so I'm not sure if any of your students live in the Bellarmine Residence Hall, but that is where my office is located. I'm here on campus every day from around 8 a.m. to 4:30, give or take. And yeah, I'm really committed to supporting students navigate a variety of these challenges. It can be really overwhelming to navigate the college experience, and because tuition costs can be a barrier, there's a lot of other supports that students can utilize on campus to kind of navigate the finances, navigate the academic experience. So I kind of see myself as kind of a bridge person or a kind of connector to other people on campus. So if your students are feeling stuck ever on where to get started, you can definitely send them my way. I'd love to connect with them and make sure they're getting connected to all the right people at SU, because we do have a really beautiful campus of really supportive departments, staff, supporters, mentors, coaches, all of that. And welcome to who just joined us. We're just getting started. So a few things that I notice in my work that students are experiencing, definitely a lot related to their health and wellness, as I'm sure you know from your students' experience, and also just being a human in this world right now. So students are experiencing a lot of challenges with their health and wellness, including mental health challenges, challenges with their physical wellness, as well as possibly food insecurity and housing instability. So we do have a lot of resources on campus to help students be well and really take care of themselves, and also get connected to any basic needs resources to, get those housing and food needs met just at a foundation. We at Seattle University are on the quarter system, if you did not know that already. So it is a very fast moving academic calendar. It's only about a 10-week quarter. And so it can be easy for students to kind of get behind in class, or it can be hard to get caught up if, they've had some absences at the beginning of the quarter or aren't understanding course material. So it's really important on the quarter system that students are active participants in their own education and can be really strong advocates for themselves when things might get challenging. And then with that, there's of course so many requirements that students have to navigate. That can be understanding their degree requirements, so what they need to graduate from Seattle University, any prerequisite courses for their major. So those are courses that they're going to need to, kind of take in a sequence, as well as there's just a lot of different university processes and procedures that students can kind of get in a position where they might have to navigate, like withdrawing from a class or submitting documentation to disability services to get their accommodations, kind of things like that. So yeah, really important that students have people on campus that can help them understand these requirements, navigate these procedures and processes so that they can stay on track. And then in terms of community, we have a lot of different ways for students to engage in community and find friends on campus, but this can sometimes be overwhelming. So I always encourage students to, push their comfort zones as they're able, and, maybe be brave, like take a friend, go to a club or go to a meeting or go to an event, like see what it's like, use the community that's built into housing and residence life to find community as well. But I know a lot of students on campus, especially these days, can feel kind of isolated, and that is a direct impact from the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's just really important that students can find spaces where they feel like they belong and feel like they can be really connected to other people to decrease that isolation. And then the last two on here, career formation. I know there were some questions in the registration form that came in from families and supporters around, how can my student think about, getting connected to opportunities and experiences related to their career? How does their major fit into their career? And career formation is a part of our mission statement here at Seattle U. So we have a lot of really great resources for students to tap into. And then the last thing, which I'm sure you all know, is that students are just experiencing a lot of complex change right now, and have been for the past few years with the COVID-19 pandemic, of course. And it's just, our world is a complicated place, and there's a lot of hardship and a lot of challenge. So all of those different changes really impact students on top of just the changes and challenges of navigating college. So just wanted to name that because it feels important. And I kind of want to give it back to you all. If you're able to engage in the chat, I'd love to hear from you what you think it's like, to be a college student. So if you're able to just type some things in the chat. Being a college student could be exciting, could be difficult, could be stressful, transformational. So yeah, you can just put some words in the chat if you're able. Being a college student is, in your opinion, either from your experience or just what you think for students right now, and I'll read them out. Being a college student is different for every one of them. Yes, thank you. Very true. Different every day, ups and downs. Anyone else thinking, typing? I'll give like just 10 more seconds. having to learn to function and take responsibility on the student's own. Yes, absolutely. It's such a huge time of growth and independence and identity exploration and navigating a whole new academic space as well. So thank you all. I appreciate you engaging in the chat.
Mia, we also have exciting and challenging that came in the Q&A section, so wanted
Oh,
to make
good.
sure we
Okay,
got that
yes.
in.
Yeah, exciting and challenging. Yes, very true. Well, with all of this in mind, we know that students are experiencing a lot, navigating a lot, and my office can really help students become strong self-advocates. I can also help students advocate, in different spaces. I often will attend meetings with students to kind of model what that self-advocacy can look like. So again, I'm kind of that bridge person, right? Like if a student needs someone to accompany them to a space for the first time, to get connected to someone, I'm really available to do that. And the ultimate goal, of course, is for students to be their own best self-advocates and feel very empowered to advocate for themselves. This is a critical skill for being a college student, also a very critical skill for just being a person in the world, in my opinion. So if a student has never really asked for help before or kind of spoken up for themselves before, it can be kind of difficult for students in college to identify what they might need. Also, some of that overwhelm can come into play, right? Especially when we have students experiencing different mental health challenges or different neurodivergence. It can just be difficult to know, well, should I ask for help, or what would I even ask? Or I don't even know what I need right now. So I always work with students to kind of try to slow down and really, practice like saying out loud, like I need help on this, or making a list of their different concerns that they have or different challenges they're experiencing. And these are tactics that you could definitely use with your student as well, to kind of just encourage them to get in the practice of thinking about, what are my needs? What are my challenges? How can I speak up for myself? How can I communicate to someone? So even, helping in drafting an email to a professor or having a hard conversation one-on-one. Like these can be really uncomfortable experiences when a student is experiencing something difficult. If they're not in the practice of advocating for themselves, it can be very intimidating to go and, talk to a professor or reach out to someone for the first time. So it's really all about being in this practice of self-advocacy and communicating very frequently, because the more that students practice being self-advocates for themselves, the more they can really start to identify their needs and the more they can experience a lot more growth and resiliency in their academic experience and in their personal experience. So I've put a few other just tips on this slide of some ways that students can be self-advocates, and it doesn't always have to be through a discussion. A student taking the initiative to go and meet with their advisor regularly, the advisor that they have is going to be guiding a lot of that discussion for the student. And so if students can even just get in the practice of being connected to more people on campus frequently, oftentimes our staff here know very well how to work with students and kind of encourage them to, again, identify their needs, identify their challenges, and really learn how to speak up for themselves, communicate when something's not working for them, and ask for help. And so there's a few other things on here as well that, you could practice with your student if you're comfortable. And I know that might be kind of awkward, but, you can reassure them, and I'm sure you have throughout their entire life in some ways of, it's okay to need help and it's okay to ask for support. And you don't have to do everything by yourself. And there are people who care about you and who want to help you. And students are going to have to be a little bit courageous as well and kind of like push themselves and do hard things. And I think sometimes students, at least in Gen Z, like in that generation, can have a hard time like taking initiative and really wanting to, do things. So it's just really important that we continue to kind of gently nudge students. Just keep nudging them towards communicating often, communicating frequently, speaking up for themselves. There's also some examples on the right-hand side in the green here on, is there any resources available to me? Like, is there anything else I should know? Like, I think it can be helpful for students to have some examples too of, what, if you do go to office hours, or if you do like go and meet with someone in a supportive office on campus, like what could you ask them? So just giving these as, a lot of tips, and I see in the chat as well, the messages on this slide are important. Are they given and discussed with students at orientation? Yes, definitely they are. And again, it like takes all of us to really help students take ownership and agency in their education and like for themselves. So it's a group effort, of course. And I think it does get easier the more students are in a practice of self-advocacy. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Lori to share some thoughts on kind of y'all's role as supporters.
Thanks, Mia. And I cannot stress enough that self-advocacy piece that you talked about as being really critical for students. One of the things I want to make sure I always remind families is that you continue to be an incredibly important person for your student in terms of that support. They're, even if they're living at home, they're not in the same high school situation. So, if they're on a college campus, we have more expectations of them managing some of this alone. And so that shifting role for you, even though you're still that critical piece, is kind of moving a bit to the sidelines and coaching your student to be able to do some of these things on their own. What I continue to see with students is, we all struggle, but then students think they're the only ones going through this. That is so not true. Most of them are going to have some level of challenge. College is new. It's different. Even if they are in their third or fourth year, something new is happening for them in that year. So it's okay to reach out and to try to normalize that life has challenges, and it doesn't mean that you are not capable if you have challenges. But you show your capability by reaching out for that help. And we're definitely seeing students more challenged to do that, to reach out for that help. And we really want them to, and to know that they are not alone. So if you can help them remember that other students, even if they're not showing it, are probably having some level of struggle. We all do at some point in our lives. And the university does have tons of resources that students can access. Mia talked about even helping them maybe write an email. If you can role play even a conversation about how would you approach a faculty member, with Zoom and FaceTime and all of those things, you can do it from a distance and even see each other. So that's something you could do with your student to help them figure out, well, what would I even say if I went to an office? That is helpful. Again, that practice makes perfect a bit in terms of being able to approach folks who they might not know. Hopefully they've met with an academic advisor already multiple times, depending on where they are in their process, and they can meet with those academic advisors as often as they want. You can encourage them, please, to not just wait until it's registration, sign up, course selection time. Just make an appointment with the academic advisor. Stop by faculty office hours. I can't tell you, faculty would be thrilled to have students come to their office hours. They have them. They're all required to have some opportunity for students to engage with them outside of the classroom. So even if the student can't make their scheduled office hours, to send a faculty member an email saying, I can't make these hours, but I would like to meet with you. Is there another time that I could stop by your office? Faculty are going to engage with students and would be happy to do that. We're a teaching institution, and they want that contact with students. I know sometimes when folks are struggling, they think they just kind of close down on it, but the best thing they can do is really reach out. And if you could just really encourage and support that for them to do that. And I would say, Mia, I'm going to put you on the spot. Go see Mia. If they don't know what to do, they can even come see somebody like me. I've met with a number of students where I've talked with families, and they said, well, could my student come see you, even though I work with parents? I said, sure. I don't grade them. I've been here for a long time, so I know the institution. I'm always happy to meet with the student, to help them figure out, what a next step might be. And lots of folks would do that, whether they go to their area coordinator in the residence halls too. If they're commuting students, we have these link spaces that are for commuter students. There are student staff in there and professional staff who work with those links. So if they're hesitant about going to somebody who has that academic connection to them right away, please encourage them to reach out to some of the student life and campus life team folks, or their academic advisor, or somebody like Mia's office. We are here because we want to support students. And so we're always happy to meet with them. It's helpful if they make an appointment as opposed to just stop in, because we might be in a meeting and, we don't want them to feel like that we're not available to them, but we are engaged in other things. So if they could even email to say, can I come by at a certain time, that would be great. I think, again, your support of their own, developing their own confidence and competence in their own abilities is really, really critical. You're the safe place for them to show that vulnerability, right? Because you love them no matter what. But really just being that behind the scenes support and reminding them that they can do this, I think is pretty helpful for them. And you will always be important, whether they're telling you that at this point, they are wanting that support from their family. Turn it back to you, Mia.
Thank you so much, Lori. Really appreciate all of that. I want to share, there's a lot on this slide, but I do want to share just kind of the vast network of resources we have available to students at SU. These are all, multiple offices, departments, individuals, supports, programs, kind of all mixed in these 4 categories of academics, health and wellness, social and community, and career and financial. So when a student's thinking about their college experience, I really do identify, of course, there's, the college experience is very vast, but I do kind of identify these bucket areas as the main components of a student's college experience. And so I just wanted to put this up here so that y'all can see how much is available to students. Lori mentioned some of these as well, but we do have in the academic category, of course, we have our faculty who have office hours, we have our academic advisors, we have our tutoring programs that are, can be individualized in group settings for specific subject areas. We have a writing center. I find that students often, with some of these learning supports, they think, oh, well, I don't need tutoring. Like, I never did tutoring in high school. Or maybe if they did, they're like, well, why would I do it now? But it's really important for students, again, to get connected early to these supports, because it can be much harder to recover when a student is at kind of a peak moment of challenge. Like, it's really important for students to get connected even before they're experiencing any difficulties or issues. And these folks are all really available to support with that. We also have disability services, education abroad, different fellowship opportunities students can apply for. We have our English language and culture bridge and ELLC tutoring options. So in the academics, we have a lot going on. Similarly, in health and wellness, we do have trained and licensed mental health providers on campus. We have a wellness and health promotion office as well that does a variety of programming for students. That's kind of outside of like individualized counseling supports. We also have a lot of basic needs resources on campus if students are struggling, like I said before, with any food insecurity or housing instability. We have our student health center. We also have something called Timely Care that I'll include kind of on the next slide. But yeah, there's just kind of a lot. We really recognize here that students are encountering many challenges with their health and wellness. So we're actively trying to respond to those students' unique needs. And then in the social and community section, we have a lot as well. As you can see, Lori mentioned the link spaces. Those are like student run spaces that are in our student center, and the commuter link is in another building on campus, but these are spaces where students can kind of go and hang out. Like we have our transfer link, our intercultural link, our pride link, our commuter link, our first gen and military connected link, and our graduate and adult learner link. So a lot of different unique spaces on campus. Students can also find a lot of community and housing and res life through campus ministry. There's some peer mentor opportunities. We have our Center for Community Engagement, International Student Center. So these, of course, are all like different spaces on campus that students can connect with. But the biggest thing is they have to go there to connect. So like I said, that can sometimes be a little scary or intimidating. So figuring out ways to kind of encourage your student, like, oh, maybe you could go to this event, or do you have friends who are in a club? Maybe you could go with them. Like, students don't have to do anything alone. Hopefully they have some friends who are already connected to some opportunities, or maybe they're brave enough and will go by themselves. And then in the career and financial section, just to close out here, we do have a career engagement office on campus, and they have what's called career coaching appointments available. So this is a great resource for students to work on their resume development, cover letters, using the website called Handshake to look for job opportunities. That's also where all of the student jobs are posted on campus. The Albert School of Business and Economics and the College of Arts and Sciences also have their own kind of like career engagement wing. So we have the career engagement office, which is like central, but then in those two colleges, there are also dedicated supports for career formation. So just wanted to share a little bit about that. A lot of opportunities for undergraduate research in science and engineering. And then student financial services, of course, is a huge resource for students. And if you would ever like to connect with a financial aid counselor directly, your student does need to give you proxy access to their account, which maybe you already have. I think Lori includes a lot of that in the newsletters that go out. So yeah, we really do just have this web of supports available to students on campus, and sometimes it can be hard to know where to start. So if students ever want to connect with me first, I'm happy to connect them to any of these people. Definitely I'm connected to all of these different departments on campus. So yeah, students shouldn't be afraid to go there directly, but if they do need a little accompaniment at first, then I'm open for it.
Mia, can I just add a bit related to some of that, as I'm looking over all these things. So all of these places have offices, but frequently also some of these offices do what we call tabling in the student center or in the Piggott building, meaning they set up a table usually around meal hours, so students don't even always have to go to one of these places if they're a little intimidated at first. But encourage your student to check out what's happening when they walk into kind of these main student gathering spaces, like the Student Center or the Piggott Atrium, because they are probably going to find an office or a club doing some tabling, which is they're just there to share information. Frequently, there's a little treat that they have or snack that they might offer to entice students to come over to them. And there's also what we call our hub desk in the Student Center. If a student doesn't know where to go, or where maybe they know the name of an office, but they don't know where it is, that's a student-run information desk. And they usually have a sense of, well, they know where things are on campus, but they can also find out information about, well, see, I heard there was this event going on, but I can't remember where it is. They can look that up. There are things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks as we get to the end of the quarter that are huge hits with students in terms of their health and wellness. We have De-Stress with Dogs coming up next week. Literally, they'll bring in dogs for students to just pet and enjoy, to kind of chill out with. The University Recreation Group is doing their Project Positive. They'll have all kinds of events going on. And those are just the tip of the iceberg of what's happening. So if they're afraid to kind of go to a place or don't know where it is, look out for some of those things happening a little less formally, to make connections to some of these pieces, different services.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue to the next slide. Here's some more QR codes for you if you want to scan them or just take notes. So Connect SU is a website where all of the different events and club opportunities, like everything is posted on this website called Connect SU. You can access it as well. It's a public website. So this can be a really good place for students to, scroll through, see if they're interested in anything. And of course, there's like flyers posted around campus and big posters and things like that as well. But Connect SU is kind of the digital home for all of the different experiences that students can engage with. And then timely care, I just mentioned this briefly before, but all students as a part of their wellness fee do have access to timely care, which is free 24/7 virtual telehealth and telemental health availability for students. So there's a feature in there called Talk Now, where students can engage directly with a mental health provider. Also, if they're just like not feeling very well and don't want to go to the student health center for whatever reason or can't get in, like timely care is a really good way to connect with a provider immediately to just do like a symptoms check, and they can prescribe medications as well. So yeah, timely care is a really good resource for students, especially if they prefer a virtual support option or if there are some barriers in place to getting connected to other care on campus. All right, we're getting towards the end here. We'll be right on time for our Q&A and dialogue. I just wanted to give you some important financial information. We're going through a lot of changes with the 2024-2025 FAFSA. I'm not sure if you've heard of FAFSA simplification, but the FAFSA has essentially changed for the first time in 40 years. And with that, there have been some processing delays as well as some glitches, errors, and barriers. So I'm not sure if you've gone into the FAFSA application yet, but we do have an event coming up in March to continue to support students in applying for the FAFSA. Because of simplification, according to the Department of Education, student financial services offices across the country are expected to receive FAFSA applications in mid-March, and students here at Seattle University who are continuing students should be receiving their awards in early June. So that is about a month to 2 month delay compared to typical years. I've also put a QR code in here on a recent update on tuition increases for next year. Generally, our tuition does increase each year. Maybe you've noticed that on your student's account, maybe not. But yeah, I just wanted to give you some of those really critical updates. I also have a QR code on here for the important dates calendars, which is a resource that students might not use very often, but is really helpful to keep track of the important dates throughout the quarter. So when's registration week, and when's the last day that I could drop a class and have a W grade instead of an F or a D, like things like that are all listed in some of those academic calendars. And then yeah, just circling back to our upcoming event, that's going to be on Thursday, March 7th. I'm hosting that in partnership with Student Financial Services, and we are really trying to help students navigate any issues that they're having with the new FAFSA. And it's been a really mixed experience. We had an event back in February as well. Some students could file in 15 minutes. So the simplification really was helpful, but other students it's taking much longer. And we are seeing some increased issues that didn't exist before. So I'm sure y'all will have some questions about this that I'm happy to answer to the best of my ability, but it's important for students to be applying for financial aid, and we are currently in another time of change with these processes. All right.
So me,
You made it.
We've got a few questions. I'm gonna pose them. So we're recording this, so we're trying to do it live. So if a student is still deciding whether to change majors, is there any career counseling or testing separate from program advisors?
Yeah, good question. We do have a specific advising center and major discernment program on campus called Academic Pathways Advising. Usually this program is for students who may be undecided in their first year. However, current students who are thinking about changing their major are welcome to connect with academic pathways advisors. So I know it's kind of, the question is like, is there someone separate from program advisors? It's kind of like there are other advisors who could help. I would say the student can also reach out to different department chairs or department coordinators based on the programs and majors. And if they need support making that connection happen, oftentimes their current advisor can help them get connected to another department. So say they're interested in like environmental science, but currently they're kind of, maybe just a psychology major. They could always meet with someone in the environmental science department to learn more about the program offerings. So there are a few different avenues for how students can decide about major changes, but usually academic advisors are the best folks to be connecting with. And because we have professional advisors and faculty advisors, the professional advisors are much more of like general advising support. And so students could, go to any advising center on campus, maybe go to a drop-in appointment and ask for additional support in a major change. And then, like I said, there is that academic pathways advising program, and those advisors are available as well to support folks. So hopefully that answers your question. And it is definitely okay for students to change majors, but there may be some graduation timeline implications. So it's really important for students to understand, if they do make a major change, how their current credits are going to apply to that new major, and will that in effect lengthen or potentially even shorten their grad timeline.
I would also add our career engagement folks there are things that they can do, what can I do with a major in? If students are wondering, how would this degree apply to a professional pathway, or to do some testing where it helps them, assess their strengths and interests and what might be a good match professionally. So they can do some of those things with our career engagement office as well. Great. I'm going to do a few. Oh, great. There you go. Going to ask folks if we can use the Q&A so that we can track these a little bit better. There's been some quick, the February 1 deadline that we have for the FAFSA is that preferred filing deadline. But as Mia indicated, given the new FAFSA from the federal government, some of the responses and information that students get about what they're eligible for aid will be delayed. But we still had that February 1st preferred filing deadline. People can still file after that. Right.
Yeah.
So
I stopped sharing my screen to also pull up a resource from Academic Pathways Advising. Sorry to go backwards. What can I do with this major is a great guide that I'm just putting in the chat.
Perfect.
But yeah, going forwards again, sorry to do the swap. Yes, the priority deadline was updated for FAFSA filing to February 15th. However, as I mentioned, the Department of Education has shared with colleges and universities nationwide that they will not be receiving application files until about mid-March. So, and it's still a little bit unclear of how those applications are going to be either date stamped or released. So I've been telling students, if you can get your application in March, that's great. But like, there's not as much stress and pressure on that priority deadline. And Student Financial Services has also validated that, their students are not going to lose out on any of their aid if they do not meet that February 15th deadline.
Right. We talked about proxy access for access to students' financial accounts. If a parent doesn't know if they have that access, can you share the process a bit? And you're right, the student has to give you the access, which they can do online. But it's just something that they need to do, and then they create you create your own password to be able to access that piece. So if you don't know, maybe chat with your student and see. We have a question too about, we're surprised how many freshmen go home on the weekends. This causes some unexpected challenges, creating a community, leaving out-of-state pupils a bit left out. Are there activities on the weekends? I heard a link for commuters. Is there a group for people from out of state?
Yeah, that's interesting to hear. I don't always, have my awareness on, yeah, if that's a trend. That's very interesting to know. And I completely would understand that challenge. There are activities on the weekends, definitely in the residence halls. They have some programming at night or on the weekends. And then, yeah, there do tend to be different events that pop up on the weekends. Students could also, think about utilizing, like we have university recreation. They do some outings often on the weekends, like if they want to go on a hike or like go snowshoeing, but that might not be your student's thing. So we do also have our maker space on campus that has like sewing machines and 3D printers and bike mechanic opportunities. And like, I feel like there's a lot of kind of smaller pockets on campus where students could have some more self-directed or like group experiences. And then I do just wonder, like, if freshmen are going home on the weekend and out of state students have friends, like, would those friends ever invite students home? Maybe, like, that could be kind of fun. I remember when I was in college, like, going and meeting some of my friends' families who were local to the area, and that was kind of a sweet time. And then, yeah, the link for the commuter students, that is mostly for commuter students who live locally and then commute to campus. It's kind of like a specific space for them. But the link spaces are open on the weekends as well. So as I kind of listed out, there's a few different link options that are more identity based. So yeah, and I do see something else in the chat about the rowing team. And so we do have like recreational sports teams as well. Like we do have Division I athletics, but we do have a lot of club sports and like rec teams for students. So that could be a nice way to, yeah, fill the gaps on the weekends. But again, the student has to kind of like find that and go and do that.
So as an example, this weekend, Friday night is winter ball. Saturday night is the International Student Dinner. Sunday, there is a Black Student Union event. There's probably a basketball game, at least one, either men's or women's. So yes, indeed, there are. That Connect SU site that Mia mentioned, where activities are listed, or where students can find that, or just stopping by the Center for Student Involvement on the third floor of the Student Center. If they are unclear, or again, asking that hub desk, hey, is there something going on this weekend, if they haven't seen it, but there are definitely weekend events. We at least half of our students are from out of state, so certainly not everyone is departing campus. And I've seen that the crew team, the rowing folks out on Lake Washington on my drive in or home. Water looks way too cold for me to be wanting to be out there yet, but those students look like they're having a good time.
Yeah, and I'll just add one more thing. We are in a very urban environment, so there's a lot of community spaces in the city of Seattle and surrounding neighborhoods, even close to SU. So if students are struggling to find anything on campus, of course, there's so many different opportunities off campus as well. Thank you. I see you're logging off. Thanks so much.
And thanks to Mom who's sharing, yes, 5 a.m. to practice. The crew folks are hardy people, those rowing folks. Other questions that we can answer? Again, all you can do to help your student feel comfortable reaching out, or checking out something on their own, or certainly, again, I'll put Mia and myself out there again, and I know my colleagues in other areas, they are very comfortable with students coming by to just say, I have a question, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go. Lots of folks are happy to help students in that way. So we are a friendly bunch and try to be for students. So please encourage them to reach out.
Yeah, we also do have a rep here from Education Abroad, if anybody had any Ed Abroad questions. Yeah. And I do see another question, what my schedule is in Bellarmine Hall, and it is 8 a.m. to 4:30 Monday through Friday in person. I don't do virtual days, or I try not to for myself. I'll also throw out my contact information because I think some folks are heading out. But yeah, please feel free to direct your students my way and I can help them navigate what's next for them.
Hey, thank you all for joining us today. We have recorded this, so if if you think, oh gosh, I forgot something they said, please reach out to parents@seattleu.edu and I'll be happy to send you the recording. And again, be on the lookout. We will continue to do a series of webinars for families and supporters. We know how critical you are to your student success here at Seattle U. And don't hesitate to reach out to either me or myself if you have questions of us for other pieces of things you need. All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you all so much.